Hello everyone, intuitive and astrologer Lisa Salvatore here to talk to you about the Aquarius full moon that we have taking place on August 19th. I have also recorded and uploaded another video which encapsulates the time period of the mid-month up until this full moon, the astrology and the energy. My intention was to do it all as one video, but that video was long enough and I started to feel energetically drained as I was recording it. So I said, let me stop it, go ground, and come back and record the full moon, because this full moon is a powerful one. It's tumultuous, it's volatile, but I don't want you to focus on any negativity surrounding it, because remember that these lunations, these energies, do not land the same for everybody personally. This is absolutely, I feel, being more felt on the collective levels when I talk about the tumultuous energies and the volatility surrounding this full moon. It can land for you personally, but the thing that I actually like about this full moon, before I get into it, is that it does hold a lot of tension. It absolutely does. However, we need tension so that we can break through the tension and sort things out. So remember, full moons are always a culmination point. And it's only natural that as human beings, when we hear 5 positive things and then 1 negative, we tend to focus on that 1 negative because it overwhelms us or it gives us a sense of anxiety, or we tend to focus on it and think, oh, I could see how that could happen. I don't want you to do that. I do not want you to do that. I want you to try to take what I'm about to say as a tool for growth and empowerment and awareness, and try to see how this could land for you in your personal life on the emotional levels. And of course, physically and spiritually as well, because I am going to get into this by sign for you. Like I always say, take what resonates, throw away what does not. So the Aquarius full moon takes place on August 19th at 2:26 p.m. Eastern Time at 27 degrees and 15 minutes of Aquarius. And I'm going to pull up the chart in a few minutes. Now this is a supermoon, which means it's that much more closer to the earth, that much more closer to us. And the moon governs over many different things. All planets and all bodies in the sky have various functions. The moon governs over our emotional rhythm, our internal world, the subconscious, our feelings, our intuition, our awareness. It's a supermoon. So it's a turbocharged full moon. Full moons by themselves are always a culmination point. It's like a boiling point where everything comes up to the surface, where our awareness is heightened, our intuition is heightened. We can feel physically overwhelmed or anxious. And again, each full moon will feel different depending on the surrounding astrology and energies. And this one has some tension here surrounding it. We have a full moon when the sun and the moon are in exact opposition to each other. So the sun at the time of this full moon is at 27 degrees and 15 minutes of Leo. And then the moon in Aquarius is exactly opposite at 27:15. We're all going to feel this full moon, but it's going to be the most strongly felt if you have Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, and especially if any of your points or placements fall between 25 and 29 degrees of any of those signs. You can always pull up your birth chart right on my website. The links are in the description box below, so that you can see the degrees of your placements. Again, everyone will feel that full moon, but it will be the most potent for the Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio energies. Also, Gemini and Libra, specifically between 25 and 29 degrees of any of those signs. Now, the moon governs over our emotional body, as I mentioned, but it also governs over our physical vessel, our physical body. And full moons tend to pull things up to the surface. They tend to swell, fill with water. The moon is water. And this full moon is Aquarius. So the planets that rule Aquarius are both Saturn and Uranus. Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is the modern day ruler of Aquarius. So when we're dealing with Aquarian energy, when it comes to the physical body, we're talking about our circulation. We're talking about our joints, talking about our calves and our ankles. We're talking about our nervous system. So these areas can be more sensitive as we're building up towards this full moon and as the full moon peaks. And it could be felt more strongly if you are an Aquarius or you have an Aquarius moon or an Aquarius rising. And again, if that gets lost on you, don't worry about it. Aquarius is an air sign. Aquarius falls under the element of air. The sun in Leo, exactly opposite. Leo is a fire sign, and Leo is all about the heart. Aquarius is more about the head. Aquarius is of the mind. It's an air sign. And because full moons are always opposing energies, they pull focus onto the opposing energies in our lives. It's the heart versus the head. It's the ego versus the soul. It's black, white, yin, yang. You get the drift. Opposites. So we could feel like we are experiencing an internal tug of war at the times of full moons. It's crisis in action mode. In this case, it's action between the head and the heart, the ego and the soul, the self and the group. all the Aquarian and Leo themes. The tarot card that Aquarius rules over is the Star. And while we're talking about the Star, I just want to pull some focus onto the fact that the symbol for Aquarius is the water bearer. And a lot of people mistakenly think because of that, and I guess it's a logical point, they think that Aquarius is a water sign because the symbol is the water bearer, okay? But Aquarius is not a water sign. Aquarius is an air sign, as I mentioned. And this is the tarot card that Aquarius rules over, the Star, which is all about healing. It's about healing and regeneration. Stars are also distant, so there can be a distance attached to Aquarian energy. And Aquarians are known to be slightly detached emotionally. It is not that they are not emotional, it's just that they're objectively emotional, objectively rational and emotional. If you note on this card, you see the jugs here, not the literal jugs, the jugs over here that are holding the water, and you can see the water being poured out. But notice that the figure is not getting their hands wet. They are not physically touching the water. The water in this case is contained. It's actually spirituality. It's the spirit of matter being poured back into the earth. And that is what Aquarian energy is known to do. It's known to enlighten. It's all about the collective. It's all about absorbing all this knowledge and then pouring it back out. Aquarians love to be of service. And it's also worth mentioning that Aquarius is the second to last sign of the zodiac. It's the 11th sign, and Pisces is the 12th sign, and Pisces is the water sign here. So Aquarius literally is the water bearer because it's also bringing in Pisces season. Just wanted to share that because I get that question a lot, and I hear it a lot. I thought Aquarius was a water sign. It's not. Water represents emotions. And if you note again in the Star card, they're not touching the water. Their hands are not getting wet. So metaphorically speaking, emotionally, they don't do that. They don't allow themselves to get bogged down by the emotion. Of course, you always have to look at the whole chart, right? But I digress. While we're talking tarot, the Fool card, number 0, the very beginning, the Fool's journey, okay? Uranus is the modern day ruler of Aquarius, and this is the tarot card that Uranus rules over. This is all about the journey. This is all about starting fresh, starting new. We can start over many, many times on our lifetime here. We're going to all begin the Fool's journey time and time again. So there's definitely an element of new beginnings that is present at this time, but not without healing that needs to be done in one or more areas of our lives, and also collectively speaking, right? The new can begin once we heal. And I also wanted to pull in the Devil because the Devil, this is traditionally the card ruled by Capricorn, but Saturn rules Capricorn and Saturn also rules Aquarius. So I'm going to count the Devil here too, especially when it comes to this particular full moon, because the Devil talks about breaking ourselves away from toxicity. Any and all toxicity, mind, body, spirit, those unhealthy patterns and behaviors that we feel chained to, much like the figures in this card, that we feel chained to or bound to or stuck to. There's something here about healing and breaking free and having these epiphanies and following our hearts, but trying to remain in the Aquarian mind frame of discernment and detachment, but honest discernment and detachment. Now let's talk about the astrology surrounding this full moon. The Aquarius full moon takes place August 19th at 2:25 p.m. Eastern Time. We see the sun up here at 27 degrees and 15 minutes of Leo, exactly opposite the full moon in Aquarius at 27:15. We've got Mercury very retrograde right up here at 26 degrees of Leo. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a lot of tension surrounding this full moon. The keywords for this full moon are caution, drama, and tension. There are again these energies of crisis in action. So something drives us to take action. And remember, it does not have to be that deep or that negative for you. There's also the potential for a lot of clarity around this full moon. It might not be what you like, but you should receive some clarity in one or more areas of your life. So this full moon is tense. There is actually literally a lot of tense aspects here, a lot of tension present. Mercury's up here at 26 degrees of Leo. Mercury is in a square to Uranus over here at 27 degrees of Taurus. Uranus is then in an almost exact square to both the sun and the moon here, okay? Uranus is at 27:11 Taurus, the moon's at 27:15 of Aquarius, and then the sun is 27:15 of Leo. So Uranus here squaring off with both the sun and the moon, that's a T-square, that is tension. What I don't like about this, and honestly we're already seeing it, is that Uranus it's disruption, okay? It's also freedom and revelation and truth. So there's always a positive side to Uranus, of course. However, there's also that disruptive and unexpected side where we just don't know how things are going to go. And the thing is with this kind of energy is that it can be very indicative of emotional, physical, spiritual eruptions of all kinds. This could be volcanoes. And I know that Mount Etna erupted recently, and there was another volcano that erupted not too long ago. We've got a lot of hurricane activity, more than normal, and a lot of earthquake activity, a lot of seismic activity, more than normal. There's been a lot of water. We talked about this over these last few months. There has been an increase in all of these weather-related instances. And we also talked about travel delays, which we're definitely seeing a lot of. So again, just leave yourself a little bit of extra space and grace and compassion and extend the same to others around you. This can help us to really minimize any potential stressors that come to us from the outside. Because again, key word about Uranus is control. We do not have control. Uranus is in control. And Uranus is in a tense aspect with the most important bodies in the sky, the bodies that give us life, the sun and the moon. This could just be felt as an emotional tension for you, wanting to break free from stagnancy, which could also be very positive. Again, crisis and action. We could see this play out financially as well on the world stage when it comes to things such as Bitcoin and crypto, the stock market. Could be some disruption there that we're going to be hearing a lot about around this time. Potential internet outages. Uranus is air. More aviation disruptions. Again, Mercury's retrograde, air. Uranus is air. Uranus is the god of the skies. He's the god of lightning. Mother Earth has really been talking to us lately, hasn't she? So there we have T-square 1. We have Mars and Jupiter over here still pretty tight in Gemini, and they are both squaring off with Saturn at the time of this full moon. Jupiter's in an exact square with Saturn. This is more tension. This is a feeling of overwhelm. This could be world restrictions being placed on us in some capacity, boundaries, not being able to go certain places where we were originally intending to go. This could also have to do with the weather. A lot of people these past couple of weeks have had to alter their plans due to weather. That is out of our control. That is going to be increased around this full moon, absolutely. Personally speaking, you might find that you're trying to move forward with a project or a relationship or an endeavor or something, and outside forces seem to not be cooperating with you. And again, that could have to do with world events. That could have to do with the weather. So you have to try to take it in stride. You have to tend to your system because this is also tension and overwhelm to the physical body, to the nervous system. Sign up for my newsletter because I put a lot of tips out in there with my energy updates on grounding techniques to help you. But do whatever keeps you in your peace, keeps you in your center. Now, Saturn is in opposition to Venus in Virgo. So we've got Venus opposite Saturn, and then Venus is squaring both Mars and Jupiter, and then Mars and Jupiter are squaring Saturn, as I mentioned, and this pulls in another T-square, tension. This could also have something to do with our relationships. This could be a time of culmination of some form of crisis or a situation coming to a head, something that's likely been lingering for quite some time, and now it reaches the tension point, the boiling point, it breaks, or the pimple pops, as I say, and now we have no choice but to move forward with the truth. That's Uranus. It breaks us free. It's about authenticity and liberation. So if you can think about anything that comes up within your relationships that might seem really frustrating or very emotionally charged, go deep within and see what it's trying to teach you or show you about yourself and or about the others in your life. Because there's also a lot of epiphanies present as Mercury's retrograde and just coming off of its conjunction with the sun, which is still very present around the time of this full moon. I go into more detail about that in the video before this, which I've linked in the description box. Now let's talk about some positive things around this full moon, because yes, there are some. We do have some support. It's all about looking at the silver lining, looking for the silver lining, and trying to act in accordance with the silver lining. Think of it as the silver lining of the moon, the illumination of the moon that we see. That's going to help to light the path and illuminate positivity for us. We've got asteroid Vesta tightly conjunct the sun. Vesta conjunct the sun in Leo. It's all about the heart. What does the heart want? What makes me feel safe? What makes me feel at home? You can receive a really heartfelt communication from somebody that's in your current reality or somebody from your past, and this could really warm your soul. You could be the one that's reaching out and sending that communication. Again, go for it. This is the type of energy where you think something positive about someone, speak it, let them know. Come from the heart, that's Leo. Give everybody a little bit of an ego stroke. Make them feel good. Tell them what you love about them. They might need to hear it more than you know, so if you feel that urge, go ahead and do it. We have Pluto over here at 0 degrees of Aquarius in a sextile to Neptune over here at 29 of Pisces. This is good. This is positive because Neptune sextile Pluto, that's an energy that's pretty much the backdrop for all of August. This is intuitive, this is creative, and this is transformative. And this is about trusting our own discernment, trusting our own intuition to feel our way through any darkness, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Pluto is in an aspect to the nodes of the moon here. It's in a trine to the south node here in Libra at 7 degrees, and it's also in a sextile to the north node in Aries at 7. So the nodes, which are our future and our past, Pluto is supporting the nodes. So that means that yes, things can feel very deep and very heated and very transformative, but with the intention to transform us. It's about deconstructing to reconstruct. That's Pluto. The sun is up here at 27 degrees of Leo in a trine to Eris over here at 25 degrees of Aries. Eris is the street warrior. Eris is the goddess of strife and discord. But at the core of what Eris represents, she represents our rights. She wants everybody to be heard, and she reminds us that we all matter and that we all have a voice. She doesn't like others to be excluded. In fact, the mythology of Eris is that she threw the golden apple that started the Trojan War because she wasn't invited to the wedding. So by where Eris is placed in our chart, she shows where we can tend to be that advocate, where we can tend to stand up and fight to make sure that everybody's heard, everybody feels seen, heard, and supported. So Eris is in a trine to the sun. It's also supporting the moon here by sextile. And Eris is conjunct Chiron, which is also trining the sun. So this is a reminder because Chiron is all about the wounded warrior, the wounded healer. And this is a reminder that whatever made us sick, mind, body, spirit, is what can actually heal us when we tap into the light of it, when we go toward the light, when we go toward the illumination, the recognition. The medicine is in the wound. And there's a very big theme around truth at this full moon. Lots of truths coming up to the surface, personally, and of course, on the world stage. Speaking of, that's what made us sick, also has the potential to heal us. And speaking about Pluto, deconstructing to reconstruct, I'm going to pull up the Sibley Chart, which is the chart for the United States of America. This is the chart that was cast as the Declaration of Independence was signed or was known to be signed. Of course, there's some discrepancy about it, but for all intents and purposes, this is the chart that most astrologers will use. So it's July 4th, 1776 in Philadelphia, 5:10 p.m. And you can see in this chart that Pluto's at 27 degrees and 33 minutes of Capricorn in the second house of the world finances and the face of our country. So we are definitely within our Pluto return still. The Pluto return was exact technically back in 2022, but we're still very much in the Pluto return. The deconstruction of the old way to reconstruct and build us back up. It's not comfortable, but it's where we are. And I wanted to show you this because looking at the full moon in comparison to this chart, it's really interesting. So the outside wheel is the Aquarius full moon, and the inner wheel is the Sibley chart, or the chart for the USA. Look at the degree of this full moon. It's 27 degrees and 15 minutes. Look at the degree of the moon in the birth chart for the United States of America. 27 degrees and 10 minutes. The full moon in Aquarius is taking place at 27 degrees and 15 minutes. It's an almost exact conjunction. It's in the third house of communication, information, import-export, travel, technology. There's a full moon here lined up with the moon in the chart, the birth chart for the USA. There are going to be revelations surrounding these areas of life. Powerful illuminations, things coming to the surface, powerful communications, lots of internet and electrical things going on. I think we're going to see a lot of power outages around this time and a definite increase in solar activity, the solar flares, which you can actually track on spaceweather.org. But there's going to be a lot going on here. And you can see Pluto here at 0 degrees of Aquarius has now passed Pluto in the birth chart of the USA, where Pluto was at 2733 of Capricorn. But remember, Pluto is not done. Pluto is going to move back into Capricorn, back to the 29th degree in September. So Pluto's got one last go around of the deconstruction process. He's in the second house of this chart. That is our money. That is our resources. That is our earth. So let me give this to you positively. The south node is 7 degrees off of Saturn here in the 10th house of the public image of the world, of our country. The south node is all about release, and it's in Libra. So it's about releasing what is keeping us out of balance to bring us into true balance and true individuality again. This is supposed to be all about freedom. So the south node so close to Saturn is talking about some hardships, some blockages, some delays to the structure of our country, leaders. It's all here. And I don't want to make this a whole reading, but I just wanted to show you how this full moon is almost at the exact degree to the moon in the birth chart of the United States of America. And where we are right now, we can all see there's a lot going on. We're still dealing with Uranus, which is going to always bring in that element of surprise. Uranus by transit is in a trine to Pluto here, so maybe that'll be a little helpful when it comes to the disruption. But also, Taurus is money. Pluto is in the second house of the world's finances here. And Uranus by transit is in an exact trine to Pluto in the money house. So I don't know. Even though a trine is a soft aspect, this to me just further indicates there will be disruption with the stock market and other financial institutions. It could also be more power outages and or more glitches, like the CrowdStrike situation that we had where people couldn't take out money from certain banks, flights were grounded, etc. I'm not hoping that this happens. I'm just being realist here with all this intense astrology and energy swirling around. And just to pull it back to the Sun Chiron trine that we have taking place around this full moon, what made us sick, now I'm talking about as a nation, what made us sick is what can actually heal us. And the medicine is in the wound. And Aries fights for her rights. She stands up. There's also been a lot of protesting going on, okay? And that is Aries taking to the streets, protesting. Everybody has a voice. Everybody deserves to be heard. We the people. This is a full moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of the collective, of the people, of humanity, the uprising. While we're at it, I know many of you love to see the charts or to hear how the energies are impacting those in positions of power and those that are in the public eye. So while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chart real quick for 2 more people and show you how this full moon and the surrounding energies are impacting them. So the outer chart is the full moon. The inner chart is Donald Trump's birth chart. We see Uranus up here at 27 degrees in a square to the sun, and the sun is applying to his ascendant. Mercury's retrograde here in the 12th house, hidden enemies. He's definitely got a lot of those. This guy's not out of the woods. He's not. I'm also concerned about his health, and I did mention that in the initial video that I did, which I will link in the comments. It's the Donald Trump and Joe Biden video that I posted in mid-July. It was right before the attempted assassination. So you may want to go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But he's not in the clear. I'm still very concerned for his health. I'm concerned for his safety. I'm sure everybody is, even if you don't like the guy. He's delicate right now. And I also think he's physically delicate. Uranus is in a square to his ascendant. That could be like a sudden, I don't know. I don't want to say it. I don't want to put it out there. But that could be a sudden public health display, a public sudden health issue. With him, I always worry about his heart and his blood. You know, embolisms, aneurysms, things of that nature. Maybe the stress gets to him. I don't know. But listen, again, I don't want to throw that out there. I don't want to wish bad on anybody. But this full moon is opposite his ascendant also. So we've got the full moon lighting up his health house. It's illuminating his health house. Also his daily life, you know, his service, what he's doing out in the world. But I'm more looking at this from a health perspective because this full moon falls in the house of the physical health. And remember, every house, every aspect, every planet, everything in astrology has various interpretations and various areas that they govern over. So don't think that if you have any of these things, it means you're going to have a health issue. That's not what it means. This is for him specifically with this Aquarius full moon. I also pull the intuition into it. It's not just the astrology. So the full moon is in opposition to his ascendant. The ascendant starts the first house. That's the body. And then Uranus is up here squaring his ascendant. So it's squaring his ascendant. It's squaring the full moon. Full moon's opposing his ascendant. So honestly, I don't know. But this does seem to be an important full moon for him as well. This pulls in a T-square configuration, which is a tension between all of these planets, which ties right back into the original collective theme of this full moon of crisis and tension. Now, this is going to impact him on the individual level, more than likely, because similar to what his chart looked like prior to the attempted assassination, he has a lot of activity in the action houses, in the angular houses, as we call them in astrology, which is the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house. These are what we call the cardinal houses. And this is where we see events take place. And this is where we take action and things can move forward. Again, going back to that whole crisis and tension theme. So the moon is in his 6th house, but Uranus is transiting his 10th house, which is very public. And his ascendant is Leo, which starts the 1st house. Full moon opposite his ascendant, transiting Uranus, squaring the full moon, and then also squaring his ascendant. Where we saw before that there was a public display, the 10th house, of a potential takedown of this individual. In this case, it might have something to do with the health situation, a public health situation. Under these kind of energies, for example, somebody could be dehydrated and we see them collapse on stage or somewhere else. It doesn't have to play out that way, but it certainly can. Bottom line is his chart stressed. He is stressed. It could also just be his stress levels. Now let's go ahead and just pull up our other nominee. And I also have a full video on her as well, which you can find on my channel. And in the video that I did for Kamala, I did also reference this full moon. So this full moon is conjunct her Saturn. It's 1 degree away. It's close to her midheaven, which is her public face. This is her reputation. This is her out in the public eye. We've got Mercury retrograde pretty close to her Mars. It's in her 3rd house of communication. So I don't feel as stressed about her chart as I do about the other chart. But here's the thing with her chart. This could go either way for her because the moon is applying to her midheaven and her Saturn. So remember, Saturn is the ruler of this full moon because Saturn traditionally rules Aquarius. And Saturn is all about karma. What we reap is what we shall sow, right? You know the old axiom. It's the truth. So I don't know what side of karma she is on at the time of this full moon. So something will be illuminated in regards to her, but will it be to her advantage or will it be to her disadvantage? I don't know, because there is still this element of secrecy coming up here. And Mercury's retrograde pretty close to her Mars. She might misspeak. I believe I said all of this in her reading, so you can always go back and listen to that. I'm not going to do it again. But I just say for Donald Trump, I'm more concerned from the health perspective. Kamala, I don't know. It could go either way, truly. She could be totally empowered at this point around this full moon or disempowered. It's karmic. Depends on the side she's been on. I don't know much about her personal life, to be honest with you, so I really don't know. There could also be a lot of digging going on behind the scenes that comes up around this full moon in regards to her. But she is still supported at this time, so I don't know. We shall see. Now, that video went in a couple of different directions. I always trust when I get on here. I have something in my mind that I want to talk about, and then I go where I'm guided to go. Wherever that went, I trust it went where it needed to go. I hope that that was helpful. And I just realized I did not get to the signs. Let's talk about what could potentially be illuminated for you by sign. As I always say, follow your rising sign for most accuracy. You can also always follow your sun sign, but I suggest the rising sign first. Aries, a lot could be coming up to the surface for you that has to do with a specific relationship in your life, likely a friend. It could be somebody that you had a falling out with in the past and they're returning for clarity or to potentially rekindle the relationship, or you may decide to cut it off for good. But something is coming to light for you. You may receive some clarity surrounding a falling out that happened that enables you to move forward. You might also just find something out about a friend. Somebody can come to you with some information. Just be very careful about the source and about what you're hearing, because you need to be discerning as Mercury is retrograde right now. And there is this trickster energy to the air. So always trust your intuition. You may find yourself getting into an altercation with somebody online. So just watch out for that. Beware of the keyboard ninjas, as I call them. Don't engage. I know Aries energy can almost not help themselves at times, especially when you know you're right. But it would probably be worth it to pull back, because it could escalate quite quickly. But either way, you are receiving insights in regards to an organization or a group that you're a part of, or a friendship that comes back around. For Taurus rising, you could receive some recognition when it comes to your work life. Something can be illuminated here. Maybe you're receiving a raise or some accolades, or you're out in the public in some capacity. The other side of that is that if you were on the wrong side of karma or the opposite end of the wheel, that could be revealed as well. Either way, something involving your public life will come to light under this full moon. Gemini rising. Expect a lot of downloads and epiphanies about your own spiritual journey, and also about what you've been feeding yourself through the media, through social media, mind, body, spirit. This full moon is going to point out to you or illuminate for you where you need a cleanse and where you need to put your energy going forward. What would you like to do next? It's time to get clear and make a plan. This full moon could also bring to you a new mentor or guru, somebody that helps you to light the way on your path, take you to the next step. Cancer rising, this full moon can feel very tender for you. This can shine a light on something of a very deep and personal, intimate nature. It could have to do with an intimate relationship in your life. It could have to do with somebody who is no longer with us here in this physical world. You can find yourself really feeling the feels around this full moon and going back to a place of perhaps some grief where you have to still deconstruct that grief or feel it. It feels like a part of you is really being broken open emotionally at this full moon, with the potential to help you heal the hurt for good and to move you forward. This could also be a positive full moon for you in regards to any financial situations or any legal matters that you have going on, especially if this pertains to a divorce or a separation from a business partner. You will receive the information that you need to help you move forward with peace and clarity. And it might come in through the psychic way. It might come in through the dream space or through actually getting a reading by somebody. So stay open to that. Leo rising, this full moon is going to illuminate a lot in the way of how you do relationships. Most important is the relationship to self. How do you take care of yourself? Have you been taking care of yourself? Are you loving on yourself enough? Are you living out of your heart? Are you speaking your truth? How do your relationships feel? This full moon can feel very emotional for you as you are going into the relationships in your life and likely releasing some from the past that are no longer serving your soul. And as you do that, new ones can come in, ones that are more aligned with who you are today. In some cases, you're clearing out some relationship drama that spans over more than a decade. It's time. And if you're not there yet, this full moon's going to show you the next step. Virgo rising, this full moon could have you really focused on your health, but just be careful that you're not focusing on it so obsessively that you actually create an issue that isn't there. I feel for many of you, you might have been experiencing a lot of stomach trouble, stomach disturbances, which seems to be directly correlated to your emotional state at this time. So really pay attention to whatever is coming up for you around this full moon, because it is directly connected to your physical health. And if you've been having an underlying issue, you're likely going to get the answers that you seek around this time. This full moon can also illuminate for you ways in which you need to do the everyday a little differently. And this could really help you to spice up your routine. Libra rising, what creative projects have you been hiding? What part of yourself, what part of your creative spirit have you been hiding? This full moon wants you to come out of the closet. When other people receive accolades and you do not, at this time, it's going to be shown to you what you are actually doing to block your own success. A lot of new creative ideas could also come pouring in around this full moon. For those of you that are dating, you could find yourself in a really sweet situation that fills you with joy, that makes you feel childlike, that brings love back into your life and romance and fun, and you're being encouraged to go for it. The path is opening up for you. For those that have children, this full moon could be a very illuminating time within your relationships with your own children. You could have some really beautiful heart-centered moments. And this could also be about connecting to your own inner child more deeply to bring more joy into your life. Scorpio, many of you could be having an issue with your physical home. There could be something going on with the actual foundation. There could be something with water damage. So just make sure that you keep up with that, especially if you already know about this. This full moon could also bring in information from a family member. It could be from somebody you haven't spoken to in a while. You may have a surprise visitor. Themes around family and the foundation, both family of your choice and also family of origin. So this could even pertain to a friend. I feel like there could be some emotional illumination for you regarding your emotional foundation. And this could be a time where you realize that something you thought you were over, you're actually not. And it's time to explore that more on an emotional level, bring in more peace and clarity. Sagittarius rising, this full moon for you is all about communication and expression. It's going to be pointed out to you or illuminated for you where you are not using your voice, where you are not advocating for yourself as much as you could or should be. For many of you, this could have to do with a writing project or a speaking project, speaking engagement. Maybe you're afraid to put yourself out there. Maybe you're afraid to shine. But this full moon is illuminating the pathway forward to your true success. But you have to communicate. It's very important. And if this is not something that's happening directly to you, it could be happening to a colleague or a friend of yours. It could even be a family member, such as a sibling or a cousin. But you'll be communicating and helping them with their own expression. Capricorn rising, this is going to be all about your self-worth, your finances, the way you move around in the world, what is important to you. This full moon has you reevaluating the way you do your everyday life. And if all that you've been accumulating and all that you've been working toward and all that you've achieved, how does it really make you feel? Does it truly define who you are as a person? This full moon wants you to get in touch with your soul at a deeper level. So take some time to get out into nature and clear your energy because this full moon is speaking to you. Aquarius, this is your full moon. This is all about you. This is a great full moon for you to truly focus on what you feel has potentially been holding you back and what you are going to do to release that once and for all, mind, body, spirit, so that you can move forward more clearly. This is about how you want to serve, what you want to put out into the universe. This also has to do with your relationships, similar to what I said for Leo. Are you feeling like in your relationships that you can be authentically you? How's the communication? How's your relationship to self? This is all going to be coming up for you under this full moon. And the motivation is there to make the changes that you've been wanting to make. And last but not least, Pisces rising. For you, the time of this full moon could feel like you just want to be alone. You just want to be in soul solitude. You want to be doing your spiritual work, creative projects. So honor the solitude because I feel like your soul needs solitude at this time. You have been the anchor for many people the last 6 months and you're feeling burnt out. And this full moon is going to show you that if you don't stop, the universe will stop you. And how does it usually do that to us? It throws us a nasty cold or something of that nature. So before you get to that point, because I do feel that a lot of you are feeling the burnout and the overwhelm, use the energy of this full moon to go inward, to spiritual solitude, and reflect. Connect to your higher self, connect to source, connect to your intuition, do your intuitive work. This full moon is supporting you for that. There you have it, the Aquarius full moon. Before I go, let's bring it back to the tarot cards for Aquarius. The Star, pour back into self, heal, work on the healing and the regeneration, and then you move forward on your new journey, or you continue on the journey to the next phase. Don't be afraid to do things a different way. Don't be afraid to break free from the ties that bind you, mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever you need to do to move forward fearlessly and with love in your heart. Take really good care. Bye.